Today, we're talking about the biggest question for the Washington Commanders heading out of the bye week. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and follow the channel as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football daily. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're talking about the biggest question for the Washington Commanders heading out of the bye week. And so I think that the biggest question for the Washington Commanders is really going to be, how do they manage the timeline that they currently are on? Because you have one side of the timeline where you have veteran players that certainly are in a win now situation. You also are not giving up on the season because you very much could end up in the playoffs. You would have to have some luck happen, but more importantly, you need to win the games. And so you want to go out there, give yourself the chance to do so. And so there is the one side of the equation there. And then on the other side of this thing, it's really evaluating what you have with these younger players. Like, you need to figure out exactly what these younger players can do in certain situations. And I also think that it's really important, just for the front office and just like Adam Peters and just really trying to evaluate this team as far as what he needs to do with this team for the long term. And so you need to figure out, okay, what should I be looking for in the NFL draft this upcoming season? Also too, you're thinking about, okay, what possible free agent moves could there be out there that could help this team get to where it needs to? Obviously, you're still evaluating trades and stuff like that. And so that comes down to sitting down and really evaluating what you have on this team. And so that is definitely going to be important coming out of the bye week. And so this is going to be tough for the Washington Commanders, really managing these two timelines and, just starting with the first side of this thing and just really being in the win now situation. Like, yes, the Commanders want to go out. They want to try to, save this season, even though it's been tough and everything else. And so what that means is not just winning games, but I just really think it comes down to just getting back to like the Commanders' standards, right? And just really, we're talking about winning habits. And I think that that's something that the Washington Commanders really haven't had this season. Like, when you look at the penalties for this team, like, that has been terrible for this team. They've just really beat themselves throughout the season. And then when you're looking at the offensive side of the ball, like, yes, you are running the football and everything else, but there's other things that just really have lapsed with this team. Like, the passing game hasn't been there like this team has wanted it. I know the injuries have played a part in that, which we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a moment. But you still need to find a way to get into some type of rhythm, with this team that you have right now. You want to establish those winning habits. Like, you want to figure out ways to finish drives. You want to figure out ways to where you can get to a point and you do trust the kicker, right? You are playing complementary football there. Like, that, hey, if we don't score the touchdown, we are at least going to be able to get the field goal. Like, I don't think that has been really, part of the equation here for the Washington Commanders this season. It just really hasn't come together there. And defensively, look, there's a lot of things that have gone wrong. Like, you're giving up the big plays, you're struggling against the run and everything else. And I think that really comes down to a lot of the injuries, which is what we just talked about with the offense. That certainly has hurt them and their production. It has certainly hurt the defense and really their production and their potential has been just the injuries. But, aside from that, look, the team is older and you have to transition now. You have to figure out a way to maximize this window that you have with Jaden Daniels. And that means that you have to evaluate both sides of the ball. And so, offensively, just a player that comes to mind for me, you have to think about a guy like Ben Sinnott. Like, can Ben Sinnott be, a legit number one tight end in the National Football League? Because you need to find out if he is, because if not, then that means that's something that you will have to go out and figure out, for this team. Because, I think that when you look at what we saw a season ago with Zach Ertz and that production, the tight end is very important in this offense. And so you need to figure that out. And I'm not just saying it is the tight end position, but that's just, something that comes to mind when you're talking about evaluating young talent. And then the same thing can be said too about the running backs. And so even though the Commanders have had some success there running the football this season, like, I still think that you need to find out what you have with Bill. I think that he's shown some flashes. Yes, he struggled as a rookie player, and, rookie players come in and everything else. They'll show flashes and stuff like that. And so it's not necessarily going to be the most consistent, but I still think that in these situations, you need to find out a little bit more about him. And the same can be said about Chris Rodriguez Jr., who I think has been terrific for this team when he's given the opportunity. I'm hoping that he does get a chance from the start next season to really start off as maybe the lead back here, but I would like to see some more with Chris Rodriguez Jr. Can he be a guy that you can count on, maybe coming out of the backfield, right? Like, I think that is another, thing to kind of evaluate with your offense, because if you have a guy that can go out there, get you the tough yards, he has the speed and everything else to kind of break away from defenders, and also too, he's a legit pass catcher. Like, I have to think that is going to really play into just really how you're going to continue to build around Jaden Daniels. And so I think that those are some of the answers that you're looking for coming out of this bye week. And then next, I think another thing that you have to really seriously be evaluating is, what do you have at the wide receiver position? I think it's unfortunate that we don't have Luke McCaffrey out there, because I think that this would be a perfect time to really get some evaluation on him. I think that he was trending in the right direction. I think with Jalen Lane, he's shown some flashes. I would like to see a lot more. And so hopefully he does get some more opportunities. I think that he's made some plays like down the field, but I think that there's a lot of stuff he would need to get better at. Like, he's, had the muffed kick returns and stuff like that. Like, he has to get better there. But also too, can he run all the route tree and stuff like that? And so you're only going to find that out when you put him out there, and you're going to need to figure that out, because I think that you are going to have to make some decisions there at the wide receiver position, because Noah Brown hasn't been back this season. Terry McLaurin, we know he can get it done, but yes, he's getting a bit older and things like that. And so these are things that you have to think about, because if you have your franchise quarterback, you need to have playmakers around him that can make these plays. And so you need to get these guys some experience on the field. And so next, as far as this part about just evaluating the younger talent and stuff like that, just kind of looking forward and looking at the NFL draft and just thinking about what I would like to see from this team. And so again, this is just hypothetical, what I would like to see with this team, just as a fan, and also to just watching this team for years, is I think that now that this team has got, I think, a franchise quarterback, I know that they have a franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I wonder, can this team now go out in the NFL draft, and can they find like a defensive type of franchise player? Can you get a defensive game wrecker? Like, I would love to see the Washington Commanders go out and get something like that. And when I'm thinking of players that could really, be an impact player for you, and just giving you some examples. And so I think of a player that used to play in the National Football League, and an Aaron Donald, Like, I wonder, can you get a player like that in this upcoming draft? Can you get a guy like a TJ Watt, like a guy that can be an absolute disruptor there on the defense? Can you get a guy like a Chris Jones from Kansas City, or Jalen Carter from the Eagles, or an Aiden Hutchinson from the Detroit Lions? Like, those type of players, like just really game-wrecking players, because I think that if you get one of those players, especially on the front line of your defense, you're really fixing a lot of things, because, if you can get a player that can handle the run, that's going to help you there, right? Number two, if you can get a player that can just get some pressure on the quarterback consistently, that's going to help you as far as generating turnovers and getting, just the ball flipped, and just getting it into your favor as far as getting the field flipped and stuff like that. Like, you need that, because you want to generate that type of pressure. You want to put a quarterback into a tough situation that way. And also, too, if you can get a guy that can not only get there and generate pressure, but also get some sacks, like, that's another way to really create some negative plays and flip the field and stuff like that. And so I think that you get really a player that could be a game changer there for you defensively. And if he can command that type of attention, you're going to open it up naturally for other players. And so that means if offensive lines now have to start to give you double teams and all this stuff like that, and account for that one player, it's going to open it up for other players on the defense there. And really, I think that that's where you could see this defense really take another jump. And clearly, the entire football team is going to have to stay healthy, especially on the defensive side the ball. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. Again, this is just kind of one of the things that I would like to see this team do in the NFL draft is go out there and get a game record, like I said, like an Aaron Donald, or if you're getting like a TJ Watt or type of player, JJ Watt, TJ Watt, Chris Jones, Jalen Carter, Jared Verse, like those type of players that can be absolute game wreckers. I think that could really help the Washington Commanders. Then next, when you're talking about just the evaluation of the team and just really what you're going to do here in the second half, I think it's going to be important to play these younger players. And then also too, you do still want to go out there and very much you want to compete. And it's not just about winning the game, but you just have to get back to just some better habits. And so that is something that this Washington Commanders team is really going to have to balance coming out of the bye week. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking as far as the timeline for the team and really what this team should do in the NFL draft. Is again, I think that they should go after a game record type of player on defense. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments. And as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.